The Sahaba did not memorize everything they heard from the Prophet ﷺ. They was just spending time with him. They were talking to him. Things were happening. Sometimes he was talking, giving whole khutbahs, long khutbahs. They're not memorizing every single thing that they see or hear. So what the Sahaba are doing, they're just soaking in. Right? And then after the Prophet ﷺ passes away, the Sahaba now, they're teaching others. People are coming to them saying, tell us about the Prophet. What did you hear from him? What did you see? So they're telling people, but they're not saying it verbatim, his words. Yeah? They're paraphrasing. Yeah? This is in the books of hadith science. It's not nothing, I'm not saying anything controversial. There are a small number of hadith which are considered to be memorized word for word from the Prophet ﷺ. And the scholars of hadith, they have a whole, they have their ways of finding, to try to understand which ones are the actual words. So there are kinds of ways of analyzing hadith, which will give you those clues. For example, some hadiths which are very short, or sometimes the Sahabi will actually say, I memorized this from the Prophet ﷺ. Then you know he's actually memorized it, or she has actually memorized. But vast majority of hadith, according to the scholars, are paraphrased. Yeah, they are telling you what the Prophet said, but not in his exact words. And this is important when we study the end of time, because the nature of the events that will happen towards the end of time, as I hinted earlier, they're often outside the frames of reference of the Sahaba at the time. Like the Prophet ﷺ knew what's going to happen. How is he going to explain to the Sahaba about aeroplanes? You know what I mean? So he's going to tell them things, then they're going to transmit that in their own words. So when they do that, we have to be careful. Right? Because the human mind, the human brain, when it hears things that are kind of outside of its own frame of reference, it tries to fit it in somehow. So the Prophet ﷺ said to the Sahaba, Dajjal will fly through the sky on an huge iron mule, 30 cubits wide, which is about the size of an average airplane. 30 cubits, 15 meters, yeah? He called it an iron mule, because that's kind of, they can understand. Yeah, it's kind of making it within their frame of reference, yeah? So that these are the type of things we have to bear in mind when we look at the